Welcome to the show after the show with the Fantasy Footballers.
Couple weeks off, you got to warm it back up. I thought I saw a shadow, a dragon shadow, come above.
Oh, I am so excited to talk about this. You have no idea.
All right, first, let's get this out of the way. Welcome to the show after the show. We're the Fantasy Footballers. We are back again, and we are talking Game of Thrones. For those of you that were giving us the business for not having a Game of Thrones episode last week, I want to explain really quickly. We couldn't see the future. Therefore, we could not know what the episode is going to be. We had to record our shows last week early. We were out of town in New York for the Fantasy Sports Conference, and so that is why there was no Game of Thrones episode. But never fear. Time has gone by. Another episode has been released, and it leaves so much exciting things to talk about.
Yet another episode 9.
I had to see it a day late, and Jason said how jealous he was of me being in the position of a person who is yet to see it.
Oh man,
and getting to see it. So I believe the name of the episode was
Battle of the Bastards.
Now, have we done the clear spoiler? Did we?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
We're gonna talk about the episode. There's your spoiler alert.
This is the episode 9.
Battle of the Bastards was the name of the episode. There is only one left in the season. So this is the second to last time that we get to talk Game of Thrones here on the show after the show. So for those of you who don't watch it and want other content, it'll be coming. However, most of you watch it and you enjoy these. So it's freshest on my memory. And so I'm just going to give the kind of unsophisticated reaction, and then you guys can talk about it.
Sure.
The unsophisticated reaction is, wow.
Yeah.
That was outstanding.
It's the correct reaction.
I mean, from beginning to end, just a smorgasbord of joy. I mean, just here's what I'm impressed with, because sometimes the special effects on the show leave a little bit to be desired, and you can see where they have to cut some corners. I was overall very impressed with what they did on that episode. I felt like, I've seen a lot of battle scenes in a lot of movies and in a lot of shows, and they don't really intrigue me very much. You see, and I'm about to sneeze here. You see the occasional
bless you.
special battle scene, like in The Revenant, right? Mm-hmm. You saw that really cool scene that was mind-blowing.
Yep.
In this, I mean, the dragon scene just got me excited. It was amazing.
Yes.
And the battle scene where the beginning of the Jon Snow battle scene, where they had, he's about to get cut down and a horse crushes into the other.
Oh, man.
I don't know. That's my unsophisticated reaction.
The storytelling through a battle was as good as any movie or any show I've ever seen. And you know what's crazy is, like, if I had to say, okay, here's the list of things I would want to happen, right? Because Game of Thrones doesn't always give you what you want. Sometimes they punch you right in the mouth
what you want
and slit your throat and say, well, you're dead to me. Thanks, Ned.
Literally.
Ned Stark.
Yeah.
In this episode, it was like if I was a fanboy, which I am, and just said, I want this to happen. I want this guy to win. I want this guy to die. It all happened, and yet.
So you wanted Rickon to die. That's cool. That's good to know.
Yeah, seriously, get that little guy out of here. But
I'll give my Rick on take here when he's
all right.
Here's the that's I look forward to it. But what they did that impressed me was that they gave you everything you wanted, and yet made me terrified through the whole thing that I was never going to get what I wanted. It was so impressive. I was so sure Jon Snow was going to die at least 2, maybe like 5 times in that episode when he was getting trampled. Oh my goodness!
Like a mosh pit.
I couldn't breathe. I was like, I was
I did
really
the same
stressed
thing.
out. And then I was like, this is a death worthy, right? This is a death, like, if they were going to kill him, this was just terrible. And so I was like, oh, that's going to happen. And then later when he's got Bolton on the ground and he's just smashing him, I thought it was going to be, Mountain versus the Viper Part 2, and you think he's dead, and he just goes, and so I was just impressed that they really made me full of suspense.
Is this because HBO's in control now, that we got everything we wanted?
I think it is. I personally think it is.
I didn't have the fear because of that. I did not have the fear.
Oh, I actually did. I'm with Jason. When the horses were approaching, and then in the giant mosh pit, I thought there was a chance.
What's the name? Because this is half of the show after the show is me remembering names. The wildling, the leader of the wildlings.
I don't know, man.
Tormund, or something like that.
Redbeard.
I was
Redbeard.
pretty sure that he was going to be a casualty in that battle that would have made sense, and he didn't even die.
Yeah,
So
because
give me-
they gave him a foe that was like when I was talking about this to Mike. Like once they started fighting, I was like, oh no, they gave him like
Yeah, a foe.
a foe
Yeah.
that could kill him.
Yep. So tell me this Rickon take.
So here's you know what? Rickon deserved to die.
Oh, come on.
Listen, it's pretty.
100%. Look,
Don't run in a straight line? Is that why?
Yes. Yes. And here's
Shooting arrows.
I will give Rick on this. When he was running, he's a scared young man. And I get it. You don't know what to do. You're panicked. You're running. But when the first arrow misses,
You weave.
you start zigging and zagging. You
You
don't
look
You
over
got to
your
go
shoulder.
Tavon Austin.
Look over your shoulder. It's not like a gun where it's It's like, oh, there's an arrow coming. Let me step this way.
There's just a 0% chance if he's watching back that Bolton cuts him down. It wouldn't happen. I understand that he can be the best. He can be Robin Hood of archery. You're not going to hit a target that far away who decides to move in an unpredictable path. The straight line
Yeah, but the drama, Mike.
was so
It was worth his life.
So infuriating.
I'll give HBO credit. It was obvious that Rickon was going to die. But there was a split second that they actually convinced me when the arm of Jon Snow went out that he would actually be like I started to believe,
Right.
oh, he will be okay. And he wasn't. And
Because he deserved it.
Neither was Ramsay.
All right, a couple
yeah.
other things.
Before we get to the Ramsey thing, I was kind of surprised. Well, not I guess surprised is the wrong word, but you know, as Snow was approaching him in the final kind of showdown, he's got the shield.
Yeah.
He's blocking the arrows.
Oh,
Snow has an army of archers.
I know. I'm like, everybody just shoot an arrow at him.
Shoot him. Tell your archers, shoot him in the leg. Just take him down. I mean, do not risk this.
I
You
know.
have an army,
So frustrating.
an army who are they are ready to shoot.
Put 50 arrows in him like this and have it be
so
done.
I was frustrated with that because I had the fear like
you've clearly never watched television before.
well I understand the drama but the problem is building up this fear in me that maybe Snow could go down again when there's no reason for it.
Yeah, that would have been a death I would not have been happy with. I would have been just so pissed off. Like, why did everybody not shoot an arrow?
Yeah.
You know, we did the whole asking people to vote for podcastawards.com and Foot Clan a symbol with the Horn of Gondor, and so I was so excited when what I refer to as the Horn of Gondor came.
You're talking about
The people of the Vale showing up with
that.
Littlefinger.
It's hilarious you brought that up because that scene was Gandalf showing up with the cavalry in Return of the King. That was when the army of the cavalry just sweeps through them like nobody's business. It was amazing.
Yeah, that was
I mean, we
great.
all knew it was coming,
Right.
but I didn't care. They did it so well.
And
That episode was beautiful.
And because in classic Mike negative Nancy fashion, so they go up. Littlefinger's sitting there with Sansa, and Sansa gets one of her smirks, and she's feeling very proud of herself that she brought in the army. If she had not rebuked him in the first place,
Yep.
You
know how many people would be alive right
you
now?
know who would be alive? The giant.
Yeah,
The
the poor
giant-
giant.
The giant went down. And
It was arrow number
They need
101.
they need to get the red woman and bring that giant back.
Yeah.
Did-
You
did-
probably need 3 or 4 red women
Yeah.
for him.
The giant was the MVP
Oh,
of that battle.
certainly.
If he doesn't bust down the door for Winterfell, what do they do?
Yeah, he was epic.
So I just for her to be very pleased about that part, I take offense to that. I don't
Also-
take offense to the smirk at the very end.
So
of the
is there
show, though.
there's one pure blood Stark alive? It's just Bran.
Bran?
That's
Yes.
it, right?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
male.
Male.
Yes.
I just meant
Yes.
male.
Yes.
Heir. So there's just one. So let me ask prediction wise, because we will actually have to stop this.
Never!
stuff for the show.
Well,
so that we can put the regular episode of the show up as well.
Right.
Let me ask you this, because we'll move on to some predictions. What will the situation be with now? You saw Daenerys and the approach of the Ironborn, and the fact that she was willing to give them the Iron Islands, and that they would change their way of life. Is that what's going to happen with the Starks? They only want Winterfell. They only want to be kings of the North. That they'll get along or are we going to have to see Jon Snow and Sansa and their army fight Daenerys?
No, they're going to get along, but it's never going to be – you're never going to get to that point. What's going to happen, Daenerys is going to come. She's going to take over. They're going to pact with the Starks, allow them to do their thing. And immediately, as soon as that happens, maybe even before that ever happens,
The-
the real war is going to
Right,
happen.
between man and
Yes.
Yeah.
And zombie.
White Walker.
And we know how that ends up. Zombies always win. Always.
All right. I think we're done, guys.
Yeah, last thing I will say, you can play the music.
We'll do an extra long one next week.
My family
face.
and I were thinking
the
about
face.
getting a dog. We have decided against it.
Just make sure you feed the dog. That's all you got to do. Bye.